crazy as this may seem, it's the end of the end of Saturday, and Dave wants to go down and before it gets dark maybe get Rich Oliver to fly his plane. We've kind of gotten most of the composite work done, so we're going to pack up the car. Look at this, they're coming with my limo. Hey, 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 I'm the one. Come, get back here. You probably got 45 minutes out there if Rich can get a flight. Where are the lines?
They're right underneath them.
Now where do you want to go? To the schoolyard?
Yep.
See what these guys do, as they're so good at getting the job done. Oh, Jack, you want to take, there's another one in my, I'll get both of them. Take them with us. It's getting cold out there.
Yep, it is.
Okay, so the choice was Woody wanted to go out in a boat. Oliver wants to go flying.
And we all went
I'm not sure.
We wanted to go to the go-go bar.
I'm not sure, we're in a confused mode here. Okay, the van is open. It's ready. So you're going to have to take two cars, because where this goes is where you go. Just bring this and the lines. I got everything else. I even got the fuel. Tighten the prop. Lines? Yep. You're going to go down to schoolyard, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'll go with Rich. I'll meet you. You got it wedged in there, Rich? Well, we probably got a half an hour. Maybe you can get more than one flight.
Get enough to at least get him a flight.
So the build-a-thon turns into a fly-a-thon. I'll get the other plane. Get this one set up.
Well, we're going to need flight bar.
I've never felt the grass this.
It's wet.
It's soft and slippery.
Well, you're not on solids, are you?
No.
Okay. The way the sun is, you might get more than one flight. Carnivory.
As long as Richard gets to fly it, that's...
Can't get the camera wet here. We're at the Fly-a-thon, the Richard Oliver Fly-a-thon and Sunset-a-thon as the sun sinks in the west. A little lean, we're going to richen it up for the next flight. Flight 2. A little bit richer this flight. Problem is you can hardly see the plane. This is difficult to see. You can see the background. A plane disappears in the background. And the air is dead as a side. Just to make it challenging, you can't see the plane. The air is dead. Yeah, it's difficult to see the plane now. May even be getting to the point where it's just outright dangerous. And as a bonus, the air is dead and you're looking right into the sun. Well, as soon as this flying session's over, we're going to go back to Dave's. We're supposed to have some dinner tonight. Not sure what time Sharon wants us back, but the sun is setting in the west. And we've really snuck in everything we wanted to do on this weekend, boy. This has been 4-day, 5-day weekend, I don't know. We lose track of time on these build-a-thons. Just like going to Texas. You lose track of time. It's just amazing. Amazing where it all goes. And for anybody who's never seen the DVDs of the Hampton meet, this is where, from time to time, I think this last year we even had the Hampton meet here. Quite a nice facility. We always have the little party down on the beach. One of our favorite meets of the year, the Hampton meet. Got to be difficult to see the plane with that sun out there. Dave gets to fly the 90 ship. Well, we've snuck a few in. One way or another here. See the breath coming out of Midgley's mouth here, and that isn't all bad breath. Thinks he's playing for the Minnesota Vikings here. It really is a nice facility. You just check it out. It reminds me just what good times we've had here over the years. Had some good ones. Okay, Woody's finally getting a flight of 90 ship. He was wimpy to begin with, and he got wimpier. Dave's out there just in case it pulls him off his chair.
Yeah, this is for all you guys that wussed out and didn't take a flight.
Yeah, all you guys on Stuka Stunt that think you need to be Arnold Schwarzenegger to fly a 90, well, go back out on Stuka Stunt and say there's a 92-year-old guy just cruising along, baby. Just couldn't be a lot better.
Not many guys can say they flew the 90.
Well, all that's left now is to pack the car and decide what we're going to do about Richard Oliver's birthday party. His surprise birthday party. He's 72 years old this week. Well, did you have fun?
Of course.
The official pilot of the 90s.
Sir, that was great.
We ought to get you a t-shirt that says Woody 90.
I survived the 90s.
I survived the 90s.
I survived the incredible pull test of the 90.
It wasn't bad. I got a 40 to pull that much.
We got a
Couldn't believe
long
it.
list of wimps that
Yeah.
wouldn't take a
The
ride.
wimps, we call them the Stuka Stunt wimps.
And then I said,
Oh, and you got all the prototype spinner parts in there? That's a
Yep.
good idea, keep them in a bag.
A bunch of guys came on there and said, "Are you crazy? You need 100-foot lines to fly your 90 on. I can't stand up to a 51. I want to fly a 90." And I said, well, I saw John DeTavio, who's 86, fly one. You guys better start working out.
And now that we add Woody to that list.
Yeah.
He's just a
If
wimp.
you fly Al's airplane, you almost feel like you need to grab the line and help it.
No kidding.
You gonna pull that fuselage out, see how it cured up? Oh, look at this, look at this. Pulling parts from the molds. So much fun.
It needs the mold to sand it with, though. You gotta sand it in.
Yeah, oh yeah,
the mold.
you bet, I know.
The only way you can join it.
It's a thing of beauty.
We'll see.
This is the first one you did with the half ounce on the outside?
Yeah, it feels awfully soft.
Needs more curing before he pulls it out. So he's finally decided to turn the heat on. Put it in the oven, cure it up, baby. Yeah, it's too soft. Well, it's been cold in the garage the whole time.
Yeah.
I'll go right to the pyramids, boys, and when we get there, go get another stone and we'll just keep making the pyramids.
I know. I'm just gonna bring it out so you can
Watch it,
spot something.
Tutankhamun's coming with the pyramid stones here.
How's that?
Dum 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 dum. It needs sunlight to cure. Flip it on, baby.
There's a wing.
is up.
Uh-oh, there goes the wing.
There goes nothing. Nope.
Oh, young fella.
Oh, we don't want to say that because I know where we'll go.
I know where he'd go.
I know, Mom. Sir, he said we can't go there, so.
Where do you want to go?
No.
There's some strip
You can't,
club in
can't
town?
go that far.
Uh-oh.
It's going in the wrong direction.
Oh, no, 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 no.
All it is, it was like it was in the refrigerator.
No, what David wants to go is that Japanese
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he wants to go
I
to
know
the place
that.
that cooks at your table and all that stuff.
Flip the shrimp to you. and- Oh, yeah.
Flip the shrimp in your hat. You know what?
Flip.
Yeah.
I mean, if Richard likes that, we
Likes
can
to
do
see
that.
the circus.
And it's just today, literally, like, I got him so cold that I was spraying water on him and the water actually felt warm. It was so weird.
Used to. No cameras in some buildings.
Yeah, look, there's a whole squadron of, check it out. There's a bunch of them there, too. Of how many? I thought there was 6 or 8. Maybe they're going to do some maneuvers.
I didn't count.
Yeah. Very cool. We're on our way to the field. They're having their swap meet today, so nobody will be at the field probably for another couple hours. Maybe we'll get some flights. Look at the water. Karen said they had a lot of rain here while we were up in New Hampshire. Yeah. A10s and mud puddles. What a way to start the day.
Well, those 8.
Let's ask the seagulls. Did it rain last night? This guy's gimpy here. Did it rain? Now listen, if we're gonna fly, you guys gotta go bye-bye. Because you could fly into that 90, you know? Chicken fillet sandwich. Yep, chicken seagull fillet sandwich.
Like
Look
I'd rather be standing in the water.
Why do they stand in the water? That's a good question. Look at this. This guy's sleeping on a job. Unbelievable. Well, we want to get some flights, guys, but we can't fly. You know, if you're going to fly away right in the middle of a wing over, not good. Hey, guys, guess what time it is? Wendy's a cool guy. Why don't you come see him? Why don't you come over by the van? Oh, I just made some friends. You guys want to judge at the Nats? You can get you a judging job. Look at these guys go. Look at this. Come on right over here. I like birds. Look how big they are, Rich.
Yeah.
You want to go see Dave Midgley? Whoa! Whoa! This guy's the mean one. Okay, guys, here we go. We're waiting for Brian to come over. Whoa. Brian might have a bologna sandwich. Come on, guys, here we go. Nothing like a good pretzel to start off the seagull diet. The seagull low-carb diet. Look at that face. Hey. Hey.
They got lots of brown in them that I'm not used to.
Yeah, they're a different breed. Look at the feet. This brown one is different. It's got webbed feet. Hey! Pretzels! What do you guys want? A cup of Javalia coffee too? Here comes Brian as we're feeding the birds.
From the lines. And we're sitting there, the thing's running and they came right in through the cone.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right? So we chase him out. I'm flying, Raul's yelling at him. And then the next guy, there's a guy trying to sneak in over here.
Yeah, when Richard and I were flying, some guy with a white truck, I thought it was bada bing. Just drove right out.
It's 2 kids and they come Bergen Catholic jackets. You know they can read, they speak English.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he's like, oh, don't yell at me. I'm not yelling at you, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
We got everything to lose here if you do something stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Those orange barrels, the old original Cardinal kit with the big tail, airplane tail.
Yep.
The thing about this thing is the one thing you told me, you said, oh, it'll be a good friend to you.
Yep. It's been a good friend, right?
Yes, it really
How about Mikey's? Mikey's Cardinal has had 3 wings in it already.
Yeah.
He's on the 3rd wing.
This thing, when I built this, I don't know how long ago it was, right? It's one of the first kits I've ever bought.
It's been around a long time.
I glued it. This thing was glued solid to the wing jig and everything. I really didn't think I was going to build it.
Oh, you're the first to do that.
He learned about gluing the plane to the jig the hard way.
I really wasn't going to, I thought I was going to put a foam wing in and all that.
Don't feel bad. We were putting the final skin on one of the composite wings. We looked in, there's no gear blocks in mine. And it was my wing. The top part of the gear block was missing.
Glue, and all I hear is a stop.
Stop, stop, stop. Help, help, help. It's Wendy's wing. Deal breaker, deal breaker. Yeah. Oh, would that have been, that'd have been a brill.
You should have been there the day we put Jacobone's plane together.
Oh yeah, they're
hysterical.
repairing the Stuka with Jacobone and Datavia.
Fuselage. There's about 6 guys putting it together. Put the fuselage together, put it on a table, so he walks over and knocks it off the table.
Oh man, Rube Goldberg. But we're getting flights. The swap meet's going to be over in about an hour. We're going to go up to the club field, see if the guys from Philly came up. Usually they do. Have a little social time with them. Now we're trying to freeze Rich Oliver to see if he can handle this cold weather. He's got more underwear and jackets and socks on. Looks like he's 100 pounds heavier than he was without all his jackets on. What time's that swap meet usually over, Bri? 12-ish? Is that when they head up to the field about?
Yeah, well, yeah, as soon as, they had a couple of, how-to seminars going on. So,
Oh, okay.
you know, I don't know. Most of the people will stay, I think. What you doing?
So with all the rain you had last week, the club field's probably a mud hole, huh?
You know,
I'd be willing to bet it is anyway.
yeah, last week, a couple guys came down here because they figured it easy. But you had all those, you know, Essex County and all that warning, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
With the rivers rising and that, and I figured it had to go on.
A man and his coat. Learning the value of downy fur coats. That's a little electric motor in there?
It's got a brush.
Now when you buy this, you just paint it, or do you have to build it?
This is all handmade.
It's handmade.
It's
Okay.
all
Is that
handmade.
balsa wood?
No, it's
Hardwood?
fiberglass. Yeah, he used styrofoam He carves
wow.
it out of styrofoam and then
Cool.
covers the styrofoam with fiberglass.
Wow.
And then you resin the fiberglass, and then you get the shell.
And this is carbon fiber.
Yeah,
wow.
that's a carbon fiber.
We just were up in New Hampshire for 4 days making carbon fiber parts.
Cool.
Yeah, very
Oh,
cool.
That's nice.
So today they had a swap meet by, I don't know, maybe that, Brian knows where it is. We're gonna go up to our club field in about an hour. That's really cool. How fast does that go?
It's fast. It's
Yeah.
fast. We weren't able to get it to go full speed because it's such a small boat. Even the small chop makes.
You got to have glass water.
Yeah, it makes it hop around a little bit. We went looking at it.
Early in the morning here, it's beautiful.
It's nice and
beautiful.
calm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were just gonna give it another run today.
Yeah.
Flying, they were like coming in and taking off.
Hey, I've been trying to get it.
Where are they? Oh yeah.
There's another one over here. There's the other one, 4. You think they came off the aircraft carrier they're trying to...
No, that's being... They don't land A-10s on a carrier, I don't think.
They came in from Floyd Bennett. I don't know.
But they've been in Teterboro. They were buzzing here yesterday.
They're going over Giant Stadium. It's time to make the flyby. They're having a game and they're going to have a for Veterans Day.
Army Navy?
No, it's a
that's in December. Army Navy.
Look at them going. They're going right to Giant Stadium.
Yeah, the bulk of them, because they're taking them out of service.
They were flying around here all day yesterday.
The Warthogs.
They're giving them to National Guard. Unit.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, they came over and...
Yeah, they're banner towing already. See the big flag? They're banner towing. So here we are at the field, and Joel admits he wrecked. All right, well, I'll bite. How did he wreck the twin Cardinal? George, tell him. You're a twin engine guy.
It wouldn't go, but it was on 135 feet of line.
And you wrecked my twin Cardinal.
It was flying majestically around, completely covered the soccer field.
Pulling good.
Went up for the loop and it got to about here and then decided to do one of these across the circle.
The lines pulled it down.
Come on, let's fly. Get out those planes. Let's go, you sissies.
135 feet of line.
There's only a foot of water on a field.
Did you show Wendy that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's you. We saw it.
He's got, this is a cutie.
I saw that in the pictures of Mugiano.
Too. It's got molded leading edge and everything.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
nice.
geez, I didn't know they made in LA that small.
It's a 15.
I have never seen one.
A flea market special. I modified the muffler. I shortened it and grafted on this piece and lightened it a bit because it weighed almost as much as the engine.
George, don't you crash that A26?
When I see pictures of motors, I can.
Don't let that
always,
Joel anywhere near the damn thing. He's not twin rated.
Relationship to the.
That's a good
engine.
reference, actually. Yeah, because they're all single.
As long as it's a quarter 32.
One of the downsides of our field is from time to time, this water level can come out, well, as it is right now, into the parking lot and into where you park the cars, and look at this mud. And I only have sneakers on. This is going to be mucky. Well, Bob Zambelli's ready to fly. He's got his Stinger out here. We were hoping the guys would come from the swap meet, but maybe they're having a good time or they went out for lunch or whatever. Who knows?
Do me a favor, tilt it.
Yeah, you ought to fly.
Oh, I bet the ducks don't fly in here. Seagulls. inkjet printer that prints white now.
Really?
So he said for like $400 or $500. So the next decals we'll be making, we'll be able to add white in and maybe get rid of some of that translucency. Get it more opaque.
A couple days after the Brodak event, some guy, and after about 15 minutes, he starts telling, he says, you know, well, when I designed that airplane, I had no
half A speed and
when I make those, when I fly this thing, that's about all the up. I was worried it didn't have enough up control.
Do I use it?
Yeah, the sun is even coming out here a little bit on this freezing cold day. I guess these guys really like the swap meet. Usually there's a bunch of people here by now. Let's see what they bought at the swap meet. Look at all this mud. What a mess. This is the swap meet stuff you guys bought? A Don Still Stuka? Nice canopy anyway. You ought to tell Jacobone. There's the Jacobone special. Put a 90 in it. Was that 15 cents or $15? Look at the price. Rich, 15 cents. Oh
There's no
my.
balsa in this. I think it's all maple.
Yeah. And then George dug up that.
Oh, you got a Sabre Stunt. I had one of those. It was a little tail heavy. Even with the motor, it was tail heavy. What the hell? Look at the stuff these guys bring.
Hey, stick your hand out.
Oh, this is heavier than a 90 ship with the motor. And look at the nice, leading edge radius. Wow, keep it sharp for total instability. Where did this come from? Look at it's a stunt ship too. Yeah. You got.
There's the one jewel in the box. True.
That's kind of a neat thing.
The flaps?
Yeah, I see. That's a Brodak plane. You could bring that out and taxi it around and
Work on the throttle.
wow. That's kind of a cool plane. I think you got a jewel there.
Diamond in the
this isn't exactly the Triple Crown winner yet.
Are those ailerons subbing as trim tabs?
I don't know. I hope not.
I don't know.
But I think when George finishes that A26, these are going to be toast. Look at the push rod. 1/64 wire push rod. Wow.
It's amazing to survive. And then this one.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Really can't see it, but it's metal flake.
I see it from here,
Oh,
yeah.
I see it now. The sun hit it.
Yeah.
Right? When you turn it just right, you can see.
All you need just a little plasticizer and that dope and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
He's gonna,
Most of the Stukas in World War II were.
he's
Yeah.
gonna try to restore that, he said.
Yeah, there's no reason not
Well,
to.
RSM will have a canopy.
Midgley's got a canopy. What am I worried about RSM for? Whoever. Keep them flying. Don't crush them. Keep them flying. The Sabre Stunt now my Sabre Stunt had a Johnson Combat in it. Nobody told me the Johnson Combat was faster than it. When I took off the first time in a dead lean run. Oh, that thing cranked. That flew good though. It was a fun flying plane. Jetco Sabre Stunt. Wow, what memories. Don's still alive, isn't he? He's down by you.
Yeah,
He's in
yeah,
Beaumont.
he's 90 miles from Houston.
Wow. I'd like to see this thing fly. You got some foxes in the car?
Yeah.
No, it's still too muddy. I don't want to get off. We'll just fly up at this circle. And just watch the fence that I'm not getting too close to the fence. So when Rich Oliver flies, don't let him get close to the fence.
What I'm saying is we'll run the line
Yeah.
out.
I'm amazed nobody showed up here.
I can't believe.
That's about neutral, right? Yeah.
Perfect. Did anybody look?
You realize there's one set of lines out here.
Yeah, that's me.
Just when I'm landing, yell.
If you land on them, you get a free bonus.
Carrier
event.
You get the carrier bonus.
If I run over, you see those woods?
Seems like I always snare in the street.
I run over these lines, I'm going to drop the handle and run into those woods. And I'll tell you, the engine wasn't broken in, but man.
This is so smooth, you're going to think it's electric.
I've never flown one of your engines.
Well, you can't say that after about another 10 minutes.
Yeah, I've never flown a road jet.
Watch my line.
Yeah,
Rich, watch the light.
his
It's
line's
behind
right
me.
behind you. Yeah.
This is the windy school of starting road jets.
Yeah, with your fingers.
Well, it says the cover's not open, but I can see through it. Hey, Wendy, he likes it.
Well, the gang's all here now, baby.
Uh-oh. Hey,
The whole gang just pulled in.
who opened the gate?
Who let the dogs out? Wow. You notice how consistent the air is here?
No, it doesn't matter where you do it, it does the same.
Yeah, it gets worse in the summer. There he is. The gang's all here, baby. Struggling to hang on to that air. You've flown already, haven't you? It's no different than your plane.
Okay, let's see how anchored he is. Rojet 90. Plant your foot. Lean. No, look at that.
What's the lightest guy that has ever flown a 90?
John DeTavio.
And it's not me.
Okay, this is a close-up of a man not worried about an airplane with a
Right
90.
into the wind. The wind's blowing in my face. I guess he's just putting it to the test.
He's still on different wind out there.
You always do here. There's no such thing as the wind blowing. We gotta move those rocks. We've had to move to the back circle, the front circle. It's really close. We were scattering people all over. Right, it's Rich Oliver. Just turn up with the Rojet 90. First flight at the club field. a week it's been that Rich Oliver's been up here for the whole week. We have just had one adventure after another. It's just been an amazing, amazing week. And we got one more day left after today. Tonight's gonna be his, unbeknownst to him, his second birthday party of the week. His birthday was yesterday. Karen's making him a little something tonight. Joe Adamusco's coming up tomorrow morning. I think Rich Jacobone's bringing bagels. We're gonna have breakfast at Wendy's. And we have really had a wonderful time. It's unbelievable. After a great week in Washington, a great week in Vermont, and now this. Next up on the fun fly is Brian. He's flying a 90 ship. Everybody at the field will get to fly the 90 ship today. Where the hell's he going? Do a stunt pattern, you sissy. Next up is Joel. Since he's got a Rojet and a Cardinal, he'd probably dial right into this. Or he'll just crash it. So it's turned out to be a pretty good fun fly after all. Now that the guys from the swap meet are filtering in here one after another, we got us a good little fun fly going. Next up, Danny Banjock. One of the best flyers in the, well, maybe the whole country, the whole world, who knows? Irrelevant right now. Next up on a 90 Fun Fly is Mikey Palco. He's probably saying, why is it going so slow? Why don't I have to go fast? The whole line tension. Come on, Mikey, you're okay. I don't care what Bandrock says about you. Down in the other circle, Bob's flying that little, where is it? I can't even find it. What a shame he didn't bring a card net. The card net would have really been cool out here. This is a, I think it's powered by a 15, an LA 15. LA 15 powered. Next up, Jack Weston, as the Fun Fly goes on and on and on.
Oh, so it's a Power Master fuel. You're running a Power Master fuel.
Rainier is actually gone almost dead now. We're at the end of the, pretty much near the end of the day here. Everybody in the field's got to fly it. What a fun flight it's turned out to be.
No.
He's arrived. Here, Joe, give Joe the 90.
Yeah. It's easy. Okay.
Here at part 2 of the build-a-thon, the Joe-a-thon.
Who buffed it up? Windy.
That's the way they come.
That's the muffler?
Yeah.
Wow. Doesn't have to be...
The lower RPM you turn, the quieter it gets. Okay. And I'm trying to work him down to even lower.
I can see what you mean now.
Look at the size of that.
No oil on the plane whatsoever. Not even the tail wheel. You got to oil the wheels.
Is this the same header you have on?
Yeah, same one.
Right now?
Same one.
Does it have the same hammered in?
No, because what we did on the motor,
adjustment.
He did a machine job. I did it, and this piece you don't need anymore.
What piece?
So this goes closer.
Oh, you mean the?
Right.
Okay, the spacer.
Yeah. This was before we removed the spacer.
Okay.
That's been taken care of in the final production motor. It's nice even holding it, isn't it?
When are you going to put an RO in front of that jet? Or that's not...
Well, I'm on one side, he's on the other side. It's just not on the 90.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, we're going to take Dub's number out and put row.
2 3/8 tubes.
And on Jacobone's plane, you just put a big swastika on each side of the plane.
Who welded this header up for you?
Scott Dinger.
So that will just slip right in.
Like a glove. That nice?
Oh, yes.
Look at the smile on his face. Look at it's the face I always look at.
Hey, who knows?
Love it when a plan comes together.
Take that down to Dave Downey. Put it.
It's a good thing I didn't get another.
You know, just
65.
put it on his desk.
No, you don't need a 65.
Joe, just put it on his desk like an ashtray and walk away.
I've
See if
even
you
superseded the 65. I have a 67.
Mm-hmm. You were telling me.
I'm testing it now.
Long stroke.
Long stroke. So. For non-muffled or non-piped engines, okay. Longer stroke, more torque, lower RPM.
In other words, Back to the Future, except better. With
that's like I was telling Wendy, we'll be the ones that took everything back to the way it was.
I like this though. That is. I was thinking, yeah, header pipe, all.
The whole idea on a semi-scale plane is you could put the wing up here if you made a Thunderbolt. 9 1/8.
Okay, now this airplane is going to be aerodynamically similar to...
Wing and tail will be real similar, yeah, but we're going to make the top block, you know, John Cafaro. Cafaro's got the drawings over here. He's got some, yeah, you could look at his sketches. This is Cafaro's concept sketches. We haven't decided on anything really yet. But nothing is off limits when you deal with John Cafaro.
I can see that.
They like those wheel pants. He sends me sketches. I gotta send him a set of plans as soon as Gerald Champ gets them back to me. Yeah, this is what we're working on now, is the side scoops. like a half moon side scoop.
Oh, yeah.
You know how a Lamborghini is? You look at a new Lambo that goes right in and first before the back wheel.
They're yellow though, aren't they?
Yeah, make the plane any color you want. I don't care.
Yeah, but this is going to be the
anything but
the Enzo, right? This is going to be the
Enzo, yeah.
Enzo. This is a cool idea too with that little open deal there.
Well, he had a great idea. At one time we were thinking of putting mirrors like on an Indy car.
Yeah, like a
Was warranty or they'd make you leave them on for a flying.
P-47 had the mirror right up center.
Yep, yep. And you could make a little thing with the guy with the helmet. You know, they make those little like Enzo in a race car. But he's sending all these scoops and things. We're gonna come up with something cool.
You can tell by his pen stroke that the man.
Well, he designs Corvettes. He's a Corvette design team.
A fuselage mounted wheel.
No, that's we just take ideas as we need them.
I like it.
Yeah, it's nice.
You take ideas from everybody. So you like this, Joe? You can live with that.
When you look at that, you can.
Yeah, he's talented.
It gives you more options.
Also,
what I like is the sound.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
the brrr, not.
It's a deep growl.
That
It's a Ducati, not a Kawasaki. That's what it is.
that's the digital photos as you go. You know, step by step.
No, that I don't do.
So Johnny did a nice job on this. I have to give him credit. That is
Have a camera. Yeah. Is
that is cored out.
You want Santa to bring you a digital camera?
Is this supposed to be a? Hey, yeah, look who's on TV. Look, check it out, Joe. Check it out. Look at it. Joe's on TV. He's a movie star. Oh, we go famous. Hey, we're hanging out with a famous guy here. He builds a Spitfire.
Oh. Get his autograph.
Woo!
Now this is.
That's at Brodex.
Oh, it's Brodex?
Yeah, that's at Brodex. Look at that Stuka go by.
Mister, I don't take pictures, Stuka.
Yeah, don't buy a camera. So all you need here, the root, you could take this home, but I want it back. I don't want you falling in love with it. Trace it out. Well, make your fuselage sides even better. Put it on a center line. Leave the nose the same. The tail can get longer, but not the nose. Okay? Okay, trace it out. How hard is that going to be? Can you figure that out when you go home? Here, give him a pencil.
Whose artwork?
Don't draw on my drawing.
It's his.
You want me to make you a drawing? I'll go get a Mylar. Look, he's going to ruin my drawing.
Oh.
John Cafaro's going to have you for lunch. There goes the Testarossa.
John Cafaro is a friend of mine. I know John Cafaro.
Don't go there. Don't go there. Okay, now you see how that's going to be? Now take the drawing away. Okay, see the difference between a B-25 wing and Miss Ashley wing? But what do you notice? The airfoil's very similar, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Hobby shop.
In fact, you know what you can do, Rich? We'll make a tracing right now. We'll make one right now.
And they moved out.
Pick it up, Rich. Just watch my tail hook. That's all.
Yeah, watch his tail hook. Watch that tail hook, baby. Now picture this. Just look at this right now, Rich, and tell me. Body a 1/4 of an inch wider.
Yeah.
1/4 inch bigger spinner. A little bit longer tail, shorter nose, and dihedral in the wing.
It's a 2 1/4 spinner on
2 1/2.
This is nice. You did a nice job.
And that's a 61-inch span, and it's just at 700 square inches.
Now this is the
look at the cockpit detail too.
Rojet 65.
Yeah. With my new longer 5 3/4 inch long header, I really had to work to pick it up, Richard. And you know, you'll see I got that little snubble around the end of the.
Yeah.
But if I had, man, I could really run a longer header if I had those.
Yeah.
Too. But I mean, even this can have a couple of.
Well, you can run the metal all the way to the end. Get Scott Dinger to weld in the tubes. You just send him this header.
I didn't modify that, but I really. See, it just makes it. This was for the shorter header.
Plus, where you get the gain, Joe, is you machine off half of this back of the header, and get rid of that spacer, and then you can shove the tank right up on the motor. With a short nose, you need that.
Well, yeah. Next airplane's entirely different thing. This is what it is.
I can get 90 in there.
Probably.
No problem.
Probably.
That wouldn't even be a challenge because you got enough material here.
You know, the motor mounts on this, they're 5/8 by half.
Okay, that's it.
We can have it in this afternoon.
Or no, wait a minute, 5/8 by 3/8, excuse me.
Get Jose's plane in here. Let's put it in.
Half there, got more of this.
Now, let me ask you, was this plane needing nose weight?
No, that's what it needs is probably 1 more inch of tail moment.
What? How long's the tail moment on this?
It needs a lighter spinner, it needs all that. But I mean,
well,
it's okay for the way I fly.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying when you do, if you made this nose 9 1/8, you could use that spinner.
Oh, yeah.
But if you leave it long, you got to have a carbon spinner then.
That's just the way I did it. And if you want to do the fuselage,
don't scratch his plane.
No,
you're not even. Oh, this guy is a butcher.
10 1/4, 10 3/8.
Yeah. This is how the real plane is too. One is backwards and one is frontwards.
Pretty cool. Yeah, it's nice. Joe.
But you could see if I had a welded aluminum tube header. You know,
oh yeah.
Oh man, that would be.
Yeah. Remember
cool. The airplane. What's that?
Remember when we were down looking at the Spitfire down there, that they would paint a letter here.
Right.
So they'd know which
like which guy ran into which plane when the bell rang. Yeah, that's very cool.
When they were coming in on final, they could tell what airplane it was. Who made it and who didn't.
This airplane with the big flaps, there's very little deflection here.
Is that 1-to-1, Joe? Because your elevators are small.
Yeah,
that's the second stage. The first Spitfire had bigger elevators, didn't it?
This is the 97 Spit elevator.
Right. The Seafire up in the attic.
And the stab is a little less in span. And I think the airplane would look better if it had like 1 inch more tail.
Oh, it'll look more scale. I mean, this one is, measure that tail moment arm and tell me what that is.
19 and 19
it's longer. Mine is longer. I know I made this one as an experiment. And the thinner tail, makes it look longer too. Yeah. Like, what? Don't put a hole in it either, Jacobone.
This airplane was, 3 years to really get.
Measure.
Just see. Look, Joe, you could do it by eye for crying out loud.
It's longer than 18 inches.
It's longer than 18, I think.
19,
your scale is 18 inches.
Yeah, it's 22 inches or something.
Yeah, that looks like 20, a little over 20.
But see, the elevators are bigger too, Joe.
21 and a half.
Okay, it's bigger tail, and the elevators are bigger. You got 3-inch elevators on here. I can tell by looking the elevators are bigger. I don't have to measure it. Your flaps are bigger and my elevators are bigger.
The flaps had to be that size if I wanted that.
Yeah, the look. Yeah, of course. But this is a whole different wing than that. That's not the same. That's similar to Dave. Well, this is Dave Downey's too, but.
But I could change the gearing on the elevator horn, and that could be done for more throw at the elevator. But the way I fly, at my level of skills and all that, it's a very easy airplane to fly.
Boy, everybody that flew it at Brodex liked it, I know that.
Trim changes would be, you go to a 2-blade prop, you get more corner, okay? You go to solid lines and woo, that changes everything. And then you could go more by changing the gear ratio, but I haven't got it to that point yet. The plane only has 50 flights on it.
But now when you put them together, you can see the difference. You know, the pointy wing, the flat wing, the bigger tail, longer tail, it just looks more scale.
This has more wing area.
It's bigger wing.
That can have more, which if you put one rib bay in there.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
And it's easy to think things, but to take them through to execution, have a finished airplane is a big deal.
Well, what I'm saying, this is basically, when Rich does the Stuka and you put it by the old Stuka with the long pointy nose, it's going to look like a collie.
That looks more like a stunt ship than a true...
Than a real Al Raby plane, yeah,
exactly.
Right.
But...
I mean, what'd you figure, 2 inches on it? But look, when you look at them side by side, the shorter tail, the longer tail, it's very obvious. If you don't see them side by side...
If I was to do this again, I'm not going to suggest to Elliot that he change anything on the drawing because that's an 18... I think it's 18 and a half. I'd have to go back on that.
But remember to
it had 1 more inch.
But remember to see, it really isn't. The swept forward hinge lines, you measure the tail moment off the mean average,
See, this is what Dave,
not off the horn.
This is what Dave Downey and I went around on. He calculated the MAC for the swept forward and all this kind of thing, and God, the tail moment. I mean, to have the tail moment, he wanted a lot shorter.
No.
It didn't look right.
No.
It may have flown halfway decent, but
no. But see, with the straight hinge line, you just measure hinge line to hinge line. With the swept forward, you got to measure the average, or it's crazy. But the bottom line,
I wanted a wing that.
If it looks good and it balances good, bingo.
Never did a swept forward hinge line. Wanted to do it. The ideal thing would be to have swept forward with dihedral, and that would be neat. I think that it's still possible even do it with that wing.
I think even with a,
dihedral, lower it down, have the right kind of fuselage on it.
3/4 of an inch of dihedral, and that would really be scale. And lower the wing, leave the tip right where it is, just lower the root. Tip stays right where it is.
Add 3 inches of span to it.
Lower the root. Then you got more fuselage above, like where the canopy is. It's more scale. If you go look at a real one, that's a lot, and you didn't change anything. The plane's the same. It's like the Focke-Wulf. You lower the wing. You don't need to worry about the headers or any of that stuff.
And I've got some lighter spinners to work with next year. Just something to fly with. That's a true turn P51 shape, and the back plate is all. I've opened up holes in it to lighten up the.
That's a true turn, right?
But see, the thing is, if there'd be a way, you had those real lightweight carbon fiber back plates.
Right.
Like maybe something like that with that. I don't know if that.
Yeah.
But it's got a heavy steel nut and all that. There's a lot of work I know I could do if I really wanted to bail the weight out of the nose. But.
Well, first you got to know if you need the nose weight out. If you don't need the nose weight out, who cares?
You and Richard would. And
I make aluminum nuts for those spinners.
Want another one?
What is this for?
What is that? 3 Mile Picnic.
What are you, a bunch of drunks or something?
It was a picnic that I attended in 19...
All right, it's showtime. Spit for... I'll get the lines out for the other spit.
Huh?
As cold as it is, everybody's coated up well. We got... Rich Oliver's freezing. He's wearing 6 shirts. How many shirts has Rich Oliver got on?
He's longing for some Texas heat.
Oh, he'd give anything to warm up. We are going to get some flights to end the build-a-thon week. This afternoon, Rich goes back on the Big Bird, but we're going to fly him dry. He'll be sleeping well on our way home. Rich Oliver flying the Seafire. Joe Adamusco Seafire. On a freezing cold day with the wind howling. Icicles flying off Rich Oliver's earlobes. The cold gray sky of New Jersey.
Could be a little leaned out more.
Yeah, it could be a little faster. Well, we'll lean it in. Joe can set the needle next flight. I think I gave him a rich setting here. I was just thinking with this cold weather, it'll take a little leaner set. flying the I-beamer here, but we got another rich run. It looks like we got rich run-itis today with the cold weather. Joe Adamusco with the 90. We got some issues with here. We haven't flown this in so long. There's some crap in the filter, so we're just gonna leave it. Clean it out at the house where it's warm. Fly the 90 ship. Now this is set up just a little bit touchier than Joe normally sets up a plane, so we'll see what he's got. I'd say it's a hair on a lean side too. Well, we were flying it last night with Banjock and Palco and everybody. We haven't re-needled it, so it's probably colder now. We'll just back it out for the next lucky pilot. Got some pretty nasty air during this flight too, but it's bumpy.
It's hard to tell where it is and when it is.
Yeah, it's very swirly today. And with the motor a little lean like that,
probably doesn't hurt.
Nah.
It makes it a little more stable.
But you see how hard Joe hits the handle hard. He's a heavy-handed guy, boy. The Penn State linebacker in him is really trying to hit the handle. Joe Adamusco's first flight on the 90. Freezing cold here, freezing his little hands off. All right, we hope we got a better needle set here. And it's getting colder by the minute. Poor Rich is freezing. He can't believe we're crazy that we're out here today. Yeah, it's a little bit better. And to add insult to injury, the wind is just getting nastier and nastier as the day goes by. So we're freezing, getting wind blown down your nose. Still a little rich. Could even come in a little more on it. There we go. But as we're coming to the end of the build-a-thon here, I don't know how long we're going to be able to withstand these 38-degree temperatures. Thermometer says 39, but I'll bet it's down to 38 here. It's getting colder. Possibility of snow tonight. Cold air. But Richard, certainly in the last week, the build-a-thon week had just about as much fun as I could ever have imagined we'd have in this week. We have really had a good one. And it was great that Joe Adamusco could join us, and we have these interactions, these flying sessions, BS sessions. Hey, we even got to feed the seagulls pretzels. Now, how much better than that can it possibly get? We got to get our feet wet at the club field. Let Mikey Palco experience flying a real man's plane that makes noise and gets oily. And we just had the best time of all with Dave and Woody. Always one of my favorite trips of the year. I'm not sure if I come back to life in my next life or the life before this, I'd ever have more fun than this, or ever have better friends. I don't really know if it can get better. Maybe it can. And it'll be fun seeing how Control Line World evolves. Anybody watching this DVD, please contact Rich Oliver. Submit some photos. How about an article? How about anything? Let's spread the word. It's a great time to be a control line flyer. And I'm sure both Joe and I are already dreaming of some future Spitfire. More scale-like body, possibly a little dihedral. It could happen. Griffin blisters, radiators under the wing. I even got the radiators already made for the 96 plane. Geese! Geese! Stay down! Geese! 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 It could happen. Man. Keeps you on your toes. And by the middle of next week, we'll already be carving top blocks, finishing off that wing. We'll clean the filter in this guy before the day's up. It'll be very pleasant getting into a warm area where the wind isn't blowing. Rich is back in Houston. We have to get a day of catch up on our molding bench. And we're going to get started sanding out that wing. And by the way, just to check it out, this is something's amazing me. I've almost got a curve going the other way in a block, so I know this is going to work. And it's going to really be a big help. But I'm going to leave it there for another day or two. We're not going to be carving blocks. I really wanted to work on a wing with the time I have available today. And it's good to be home. That was a great time at Dave's. We got more things done, more flying. This is an exceptional year. It's a year I don't even know how to explain it. We've gotten like 2 flying seasons. Normally in the end of the year we don't get much flying. We're getting more flying done in that last 2 months than could have ever predicted. Anyway, gonna get that wing sanded out. Now, one of the first things I did this morning, put a little piece of 16 plywood and a little cap to confine that bell crank wire from going up and down. Trim it out. The total height is about 1/8 of an inch. That confines the bell crank. That's in permanently. You just want to rough cut the tips into shape before we start sanding the edges. Just by trimming these off, and I like to leave about 1/8 of an inch on there with a zona saw, and then block sand that in perfectly flat. Now we know this rib is in at 90 degrees straight up and down, so it'll give us a nice flat, once it's sanded out, a nice flat to attach the wingtip to. We've got the center lines really lined up nicely. This wing is an exceptionally nice wing. This is, and each one of these just gets a little bit better and nicer. I roughed the leading edges in rough sanding, but I want to get that nice curve in there. I want to spend a lot of time doing that. I'm trying to make up a little hit list. My flap hinge pockets, because we use 6 layers of tape, we really should have used probably 4. They're thicker than the hinge, so I'm going to try to figure how I want to put little plugs in there somehow. All a little detailing on this, but boy, once this is sanded out, and I'll probably put the better part of the day into sanding it out, this really was a nice wing. And I'm hoping, of course, once that leading edge is done, once the trailing edge is done, this is going to make the heart and soul of a really good stunt ship. And because I anticipate this sand out to take quite a long time, there's no point. I want to have my coffee, get really in a sand out mood, get all the sandpaper and blocks and things. Now we roughed some of this sanding out up at Dave's, but we didn't put the final shape on. Well, I can pick up, I've roughed this out with the rough side of the carbide block, and the longer of a block I can use, hopefully the better of a shape I'll get on this. I always look for the little spot, and there's one right here, where it has a little flat, I call it a flat spot, and I can kind of move this down. Yeah, we've had a really extended, we probably had a 9-month flying season this year, which probably means next year we'll have a 2-month season. But what can you do? Okay, once I'm done now and I've got all the hard spots out with the long block, then I can go to the shorter block again, and then even to the shortest of the blocks, because the long block gives me that nice long flat. But if there's a little divot, I don't want to sand the whole thing down. I want to get, when I see light going down that leading edge, I want it to just sparkle at that one point. Now we have a whole bunch of these little sanding polywogs for doing a leading edge. And the one thing you don't want to do with these is, I just use these for the final hitting high spots. What happens if you're trying to do a square shape, you tend to dig in the edges. And you get all done, the radius is nice, but there's a little ditch on each side. So what I try to do is, now that I know I have what amounts to be a bad spot up here, this is just a little bit bigger than that. You see, I don't want to do that or that. I want to keep it, and kind of using my fingers as a guide. And that lets me get a relatively consistent leading edge right up to the point where I'm ready to start sealing it with thick CA. I don't want to use thin CA. I went through this glue joint on this, and the glue joint was absolutely perfect, so I don't want to get too inventive or creative here. But I can use the little polywogs. And by the way, if you can't find these and there's no other source, you can go to Sears Roebuck. They're actually an accessory for one of their tools, one of their... I saw them up there, and I'm not sure what they call them, but Sears Roebuck even has them now. Now I can see I've got pretty much the final radius that I want to have here. Now what will happen if you were to just do all the sanding, you've got a rock hard joint, aliphatic joint, soft balsa where we've flattened the leading edge. And again, Dave is going to change the mold by next year to somewhat, so we get less of this. There'll be less work in doing it. We've already tried to figure a way of doing that a little bit better. But you'll have hard, soft, hard. So in the final analysis, the trick is dress it off till you can't find any of the little seams. And this would go even if you were using a Nobler type wing or a Thunderbird or whatever. A nice straight leading edge is always something to strive for. Now once I get it to the point where I can't feel any rough spots or any spots that I'm not happy with, then all I can do, I'm going to put thin CA on here. I mean thick CA. Never put thin CA. Sanding that off if it drips down the wing is like a nightmare. Again, you can do one little spot at a time. It isn't a real critical thing. I always use the finger test as soon as that's ready. And again, because I'm using all Brodak CA, I know it's nice and fresh. Sometimes I've used other brands and when you see CA it's not kicking off, boy. I can just start to feather that in. And in a matter of 2 or 3 little sand outs, I'll have my leading edge done. Now what it also does is seal a leading edge where we've ground through the e-glass. And I always use my hands. I'll always have this technique. Sand a little bit, look for a bad spot. Right here's one. Sand a little bit. Always start with the big long block, work up to the short blocks, depending on how many you have, again. And of course, depending on how fussy you want to be. And once that's sanded out, and of course we've already gone through, we just repeat step A, step B 3, 4, 5 times until we have a little gloss on that raw wood. Then I know I've got the wood shaped. See the little gloss it leaves? I've got the wood shaped, and it's going to be hard, and I'm not going to have hard, soft, hard. It's going to be one continuous, I guess hardness would be the right word. Another thing that's easy to do when you're very happy with the shape, you can use some, we didn't have any of this up by Dave's. And then the last thing will be one final coat when I know I have it completely. And I guess the test is that you can't in no way feel that leading edge. It's one continuous radius. What was amazing up at Dave's was how close in weight all the wings were. They were within 3 grams. So what it's going to tell me is when Dave gets his up to a certain point, and Rich, we compare them, say, with all the flaps and hinges and everything in them, we'll have a rough weight, and we'll kind of hopefully all be well within a range that these wings work well in. Now the next step, I want to work the trailing edge. I got the sticky back paper down there. And I'll spend as much time as necessary to get the trailing edge straight. I want to get through all the little divots of that aliphatic resin and stuff. Then I'll monitor it along the way here. Make sure I have the edge nice and straight. should be fine. And probably by the time I'm done, at least if this is going to be the same as Rich Oliver's wing, we're going to be right down to the edge to where it's flat wood, but we know it'll be perfectly true, and then I can true up those hinge pockets. Now I can see this is just going to be a little time consuming, because I only have 220. I got to buy some rougher sandpaper. Really could use some 120, but for right now we'll just take our time and get this whole back edge dressed off. Now on some of the areas where there's a lot of glass off the end of the wing, I just want to get off the rough glass. And then we'll go back to the table once I get this roughed in. Because I don't have any of the really rough paper, or I just set up a strip of rough paper. I got to fire the guy that's in charge of inventory control on sandpaper here. And part of the trick of this whole thing is not to rush. I can start off with the rough side, transition to the smooth side, finish up on the table with the nice 220. And this is probably, I spent a lot of time on this trailing edge because I really wanted to get it right. Because when I put the horn in, it's hard, it's not hard, it's impossible to do this. So I really did spend the extra time, both with the block and with the sandpaper on the table. I can kind of rotate this. And I like to go, because I really get a better grip where the gear blocks are. Now what happens is, when I go to sight this, I really can run light along the edge. And the last step, and I'm not going to get to do it today because we're just running out of time here. This took a lot longer than I thought it would. Next step is going to be the hinges. I'll probably do that tomorrow. Get this sanded out. And I'm trying already to make up a little priority list of what I want to do first, second, third. But just spent a lot of time on these edges. But the thing is, once you have these edges, the shape and the contour is just right, then from this point on, the finishing gets real easy. You don't have bubbles and all kind of things sticking up. So this was, I think it was a day well spent anyway. I'm just looking to see how much of a radius I have on this, because I want to make pretty much a mimic of it. And I remember spending a lot of time on those edges, but the final product is you wind up with a front row plane. What I did, I took a half a hinge here, had a little time here, and I wanted to see what I was going to do about these. This is a sloppy fit here. The hinge fits in fine, except it's a little sloppy. Yeah, I don't like that. So I thought what I could do is one of two things. I can fill this in with some either balsa wood, or I stripped off some 30-second wood. Again, what this is from, let's see how that works. See what that puts the hinge off center. So I'm going to have to sand this wood. What I'm going to have to do is take and make some really thin balsa wood, so I can see how much is going to go in there. I actually need half of this dimension. I need something like 64th balsa to do this if I do it this way. Now it looks like a better choice is going to be just taking, this is one of the hinges that I serrated. And when it's serrated, of course you get a better grip. And I thought what I'd do, maybe what I'll do is, well, I can do a test in a piece of scrap wood. Serrate them, put some epoxy on it. What that's going to do, maybe I could put a little cabosil in there even. Yeah, that's a lot tighter now. Now it doesn't even pay to put a shim in there. I thought I was going to have to shim them all. Well, I think this is the answer. Now I also have to grind all the pins off, because I don't want to have these hinge. One of the things I don't like is having the hinge slots and the flaps really wide. I want them even with the hinges, so what I'm going to do is grind all the pins off the hinges, and I'll prep Actually, that's the only way I'm going to deal with this. Prep the hinges up now. I can take, see, the hinges have this pin, and we don't need it because when this goes into the flap where the elevator confines it. So it's just, I don't like having that slot any bigger than it has to be. And actually when you do this, to a hinge end, it kind of seals in the end, and when you glue that in, of course, it's pretty stable. So I think I'll prep, well, I got a little time here tonight. I'll prep up the hinges. I'm going to have to go with those slots. I thought maybe I'd have to do some little adjustment there, but I think that when I roughen these up and put a little cabosil on them, they'll be just right. And I see how big those hinge pockets are. See what I did here that I didn't like? I left extra room here. There was no reason to. I could have brought that right up. Smaller slot. I just think it would just probably look a little better. And on the Testarossa, the edges are ground down, so I just think that'll just be a better way of dealing with the little hinging issue. Now it's that time of year again, that the end of a busy work day. It's nice to relax, come up and run the trains, and we'll be doing some modifications and updates on this, and hopefully get some more pictures in classic toy trains. It's a nice way to relax after building wings all day long. Okay, now our next step is going to be to block sand this out. We got both of the edges taken care of. The next thing I want to do is sand out the skin, and let me do a little storyboard what I'm trying to accomplish and what some of the pitfalls on this might be. Now the side view cross section of our part is composed of, and I want to do this carefully, we also have, that's our E-glass, it's our 16th balsa wood, and then we have 3/4 ounce and 1/2 ounce in a matrix. In other words, they're squeezed together in that last row. But there's one thing that always happens when you vacuum bag, and there's no way to avoid it, is you always get a skin of epoxy that doesn't have the cloth in it. There's always a skin, and depending on how much pressure you use and among other things, and it's this skin, it's this outer layer of epoxy that we're going to be dealing with. Now what I want to do in that outer layer, if I were to go, and I'm just going to put the outer layer here because we're not going to go any further than that, I want to create a little tooth pattern so that my first coat of dope and tissue are going to stick down. And by doing this, I'm increasing the area. Anytime I put more little sanding scratches in it, I've increased the area. Because what will happen if I go to put paint right on this, it's going to tend to peel off. It's not going to be a real super bond. This is going to create the super bond I'm looking for, hopefully. Then on top of that, when I take the silk span, a couple coats of dope and silk span, I want to create that bond. Now what that does, it creates a really, really good substrate, and in effect, it even adds more strength and rigidity to what already is a very strong wing. Well, let me explain. Now any I-beam wing, the silk span is carrying the whole load. So now imagine if you were to go to fly this, if you ever made a monocoated I-beam plane, it might either be a horrible flexible plane or it'd fail in service. And it's because the dope is shrinking and creating strength as it shrinks. And by the way, that's the next article of mine in Control Line World. Explains some of that. What happens here is we have a rigid wing, but the dope is still shrinking. It's still creating what amounts to be a big rubber band and making it very, very rigid. If you were to paint this with car paint, you don't get that rigidity. So and we might already be overboard on rigidity, but I'd rather be overboard than have something flexible. Now before I put the tissue on this wing, you could take this wing or an Aries wing, you can bend it like a pretzel. Once 2 or 3 of those coats of dope shrink up, forget it. This is iron now. And I mean, there's a plane with 7 years of service on, and some of it pretty rough service. So we don't want to leave out that last little. The silk span is a critical part of how I've done these wings. Now maybe Richard will choose to do his with car paint. Probably won't be a problem. But the silk span's going to put me in an area where it's a little bit stronger, I hope, and more rigidity. And I think the more rigid you make these planes, just the more consistent they fly, especially in a wind. And the silk span is a big part of that finish. And all these composite planes had the same, and we're going to do the same to Rich Jacobone's Stuka, by the way. We'll be working on that next week. Same thing, where the silk span is part of doing the work of making it rigid. Now another thing, in this top layer, what's going to happen is we have a layer, if you did a real careful cross section on this, like when I cut the tips off, by the way, this is where our weave and our cloth, they're bundled up in that area. But on the outer skin of that, on the outside of this skin, there's really a layer of what I call extra epoxy. And by sanding, I want to remove some of this layer of extra epoxy. Now I found 220 grit to be the best for doing that, because it leaves scratches, and I want to leave the scratches. The trouble is I want to go as close as I can without breaking through. I don't want to have the surface have threads of e-glass sticking up. Now even if I do have them, because they don't cut real nice with sandpaper, but even if I do go through, I'll have to dope this, a couple of coats of dope, and the tissue will seal them back up. When you're doing a finish with no silk span, and you have a couple of threads, I remember years ago there used to be some covering material that used to thread like that. And you put 100 coats of paint in a plane, it never got rid of the threads. It really was horrible. But now our job here, should we decide to accept it, we're going to get as much of this layer of raw epoxy that does not have the weave in it. And we want to get as close to, but not touch, the actual e-glass. That's our goal for today. And we're going to set aside a whole day here because this is going to be a time-consuming part of the job. And I don't know how much weight we'll get off. This is not to get weight off. It's to build a bond and get rid of dead weight. And also get that bond. So when a tissue goes on and the first coat's of dope, I get a good bond. I would not get a good bond on this if I put it, right now, put dope and tissue on it. In fact, if you look at the surface out of the mold, you can almost see the weave. Not really, but you know you'll sand and sand and sand to a certain point, and I'd like to block sand as much as possible, just being careful around the sanding blocks that I don't start picking up the sanding blocks. But that weave, as good as it looks right now, and it's nice, I would be hesitant to just say put a coat of primer on this and paint it white, even though that's probably one of the ways you could do it. I would always feel a lot better building that tooth. It's so important to build a tooth, and not later on in the finish. It's like laying the bricks in mason work, getting that first coat on flat, level. Then from that point on, everything is easy. Now, just as an example, I got the sticky back 220 on a block, but I've really got to watch when I block sand over here. So when I get up to about 1 inch by the ribs, I'll do this with my bare hand. I don't want to start picking up the high spots there, if there are any. But anyway, to look at this surface now, and it's obviously nice and shiny. And this is going to take some time. I'll be able to get a little bit of weight off, and I'll be able to get the surface prepped up so I know that all the hours of finishing I'll be putting on this plane, they're not going to go down a drain by pulling up the tape, whatever trim scheme we use on this plane, pulling up the tape and having a catastrophe where you pull it down right down to the fiberglass. And boy, that can really happen. Now notice I'm always doing the bottom of the wing first. The reason is, if I'm starting to get comfortable with this technique, and by the way, this is always your test, when the resin turns to powder. And it's always good with any composite part is just, if you're not going to use it right away, put it aside for a couple of days. This part's, well, maybe a week old already, maybe even longer, but within that first 7 days, it gets easier and easier to sand, easier to get it to powder off like that. So now if you looked at this real close, and I'm not sure you can see the way this, let's see if we can, here's the shine right here. Nice and flat and dull. The idea today is, and I'll spend as long as I have to get the whole wing flat and dull. The edges, radius, everything off, and not try to rush it, and not try to be done with it in an hour. I'm going to dedicate this whole day, and I know I'll get some of the weight off, but I'll also get a really good foundation. It's the equivalent of getting the first row of bricks in a masonry job. Now, talk about what a small world it is. The phone just rang. It's George Venturini, and he told me that the U-2 that's in the museum by Dulles that we just took video of, his friend is the one that flew that plane, that U-2. Now, and he's got some kind of newspaper or magazine article about it. So I'm going to get him, I'm making him a copy right now of our visit to the museum. Boy, it's a small world. I wish I would have known that. I'll see what he's going to bring. He's coming over for lunch later, but I want to get some of this sanded out. Boy, it's a small world. You just never know. But the trick here, and I've fallen for this old trick in the past of being impatient early on in a finish. It's always a mistake. Now what I like to do is do a little spot like this. Constantly wipe the dust off, because what happens is the sandpaper gets clogged up. Now I just use the towel. I just rub it on a towel and what a small world. We just saw Chick's U-2. Unbelievable. Now once I get even a little spot like this sanded out, the reason I always do the bottom first, I want to just get a feel for how long it's going to take to get this smooth. Oh, that feels nice. You can feel it with the back of your hand. You can just, when it's right, and that makes such a good base for a finish. Now, one of the things we had a problem with on the Testarossa was the joint. So I'm going to be real careful not to get this joint crooked, or that I have to fill it, or that what happened on the Testarossa, I made the block a little bit too hollow in the back. So I'm just leave a little tiny more material there and work on getting this joint right on the money if possible. Now this is one of the areas that I'm real careful. Once I get this sanded out, the flats, so I don't want to feel any any indication of where that joint is. I want it to be as radius. I'm picturing what the airflow over here might be like. And what I've been doing, I've just been sanding until I don't see any shiny spots. Now I see a shiny spot right there, but because it's on the tip edge, I want to be real careful. This is just time consuming, it just takes forever. And that's why I don't want to rush it. I don't want to try to do this in an hour or something, this part of it. Because once this is set, this is that first, oh, it's just, if you've never done masonry work and you never get that first row of bricks in straight, boy, from that point on, George has a saying for it. He calls it Warpus Kitty, where every brick is, I guess you got to be Italian to see the humor in it. Anyway, once I get these, now I did a lot of work on this trailing edge as I come around. Any little shiny spot I know I'll have to fill in. So I want to get that radius real nice. And I always do it with the feel by hand. Sand a little, put your hand on there. As soon as you feel with your hand what's happening, your hand never lies. And using your hand to find that leading edge radius, any little flat, if you go across here and there's a little flat spot, now is the time to get it out, not after the tissue's on. Because once the tissue's on, then you break through the tissue. And right now, this is the time that I really have to spend a lot of time. Now, if it's a built-up wing, it would be the equivalent of sanding out all the cap strips and getting a radius. Because once you have a sharp edge on anything, and that tissue shrinks, you've just wasted all that time. So George gets here for lunch. This is about his friend. This is Vito.
Chick Vito, Common Vito. Colonel Common.
Now, this is the guy we met in your backyard?
Yeah.
Okay, and a story with the U2. And that's the U2 that's in the Smithsonian, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, he's a good looking guy when he was young, huh?
All of us from Carlson are good looking.
I said him, not you.
The years haven't been kind to me.
Well, when you're in masonry work. Now this is out on the internet? You could just download this off the internet?
I don't know when my son got it. He picked it up.
Wow. Well, here's one of the things. Oh, well, that doesn't mean anything. New evidence on U2 flights. I'll bet there's some stories they're going to uncover like 100 years from now, too. Anyway, all right, we'll check this out.
Are you recording?
What, do you want me to? Interesting stuff. Had a nice visit with George. You can see what I'm really stressing here. One last point. I've been doing over the gear blocks by hand. I still have the middle to do, but once I just scuff the middle, I don't want to sand over that joint. I don't want to make a stress riser out of that joint. So I'm being very conscious of sand maybe up to there, but not to sand over the whole thing. I've got the bottom done, and I didn't want to have any chance that, I've seen people with foam wings where this comes to a high point and they just sand right down there and make a stress riser. So this has really been an effort. You know, it doesn't look like much now. This is what I wanted to show too, is I did where the gear blocks were. Just did that part by hand, then I'll do that part, the middle with a block. And when that's all done, believe me, it'll be Miller time. It'll be coffee time or sometime anyway. A lot of work, but this really does make a good foundation. And I'm sure somewhere down the road I'll be just as happy as can be that I've done it. The last step on this sand out, because I have this edge now exactly the shape that I want it. Hopefully a final sanding. I want to maintain that I don't have any spots that aren't covered with a thin bead of CA. And also just to harden up the wood, any raw wood that's still there. I guess we're going to end this session with this wing done, and that's a good feeling. It's always good if you can end at a, I think it is anyway, at a spot that . And once I get this finalized, we are done for the night. What a great day this has been. I really feel like a major thing. It's been an all-day effort to get this to this point, and I think definitely well worth it. Oh, when that's got a final sand out on it, now there's no place that you don't feel it. Just working your hand right up there. What a good feeling. What a nice. The whole wing at this point in time is really, I got to give Midgley credit. He's okay. I don't care what Woody says about him. Boy, that sanded out nice. Well, again, all that's left to do now, vacuum up the dust. What I like to do is just take these outside, shake them out. That is pretty much ready. And boy, talk about a long day. I'm really happy the way that came out. That's gotten me psyched. I'll be looking forward to the next time we get to work on this. And we're right in the middle of the holidays here, so should be a lot of fun.
Darrell strides to the cockpit. The dream that has obsessed him for 3 years is just hours from being realized. Thad sits at the flight engineer's console to start all 4 engines.
Go on 4, Darrell. Okay.
Instruments that have remained dormant for 50 years once again register life in the machine. The giant radial engines can deliver over 2,000 horsepower each. Thad makes last-minute adjustments to the oil pressure and the carburetors to get the engines running sweetly.
I have much in the way of nose oil pressure on 3, Darrell. Well, it's coming up now. Manifold pressure gauge just came loose. There she comes.
As the propellers shimmer in the sunlight, Darrell puts the coordinates for Thule into the newly installed satellite navigation system. The plane has frozen into the mud and snow, and it takes maximum power to break the wheels free. The nose wheel can't be controlled, and at slow speeds, Darrell has to adjust the engine power to steer the plane. Finally, it is moving in a wide circle out onto the lake on its way toward the end of the runway. The plane is bounced and shaken by the frozen snowdrifts. Suddenly, smoke can be seen pouring from the windows in the cockpit. The auxiliary power unit, a standby generator, was thrown from its mounting in the rear fuselage and caught fire. Fortunately, the crew managed to jump clear. Darrell shouts for more extinguishers, but it's too late. The fire has already swept through the plane. He can do nothing but stand and watch as this irreplaceable piece of aviation history is consumed by fire. With it go the years of planning and hard work by so many people.
It's going to burn to the ground. Apparently the APU was left running in the tail, and the fuel tank broke loose and dumped fuel on the APU and started to fire in the tail. That's where the fire extinguisher was, but we couldn't get to it. I don't think it would have made a difference which way we took off. It would have been airborne a third of the way across the lake.
Well, I almost threw my bag in before you pulled out because I figured we were going to go. So I just put my tools in.
Where are they, up front?
No, they're in the tail where the fire was.
Oh, shit.
They're gone.
My tools are up front.
Well, it wasn't because you didn't try.
Yeah. It was ready to go. That's the real tragedy of it. I mean, we were so close. Success was right there. It was right there. But this is my game, and I'd do it again.
Darrell had faith that the B-29 would fly once again, with him at the controls. But instead it remains on the frozen surface. When the ice melts, what's left of the Keybird, the new engines and propellers, will sink and come to rest on the dark bottom of the lake forever.